Hello everyone, my name is Kid Lee, and here are 10 things that you need to know about Anthem. Number 1 is pilot level unlocks. When you jump into the world of Anthem, your pilot will be able to gain levels. When you gain these levels, that will allow you to unlock the Javelins. Now, when you jump into the game for the first time, you're going to be starting out with the Ranger Javelin. Then, as you progress, you'll be able to unlock the other ones. Levels 2, 8, 16, and 24 are the unlock levels for the other Javelins. It's currently theorized that there's going to be some story bits at the start of the game, and you're actually going to be starting at level 2 with that Ranger Javelin. Speaking of Javelins, number 2 is actually going to be the 4 Javelins. As I've already mentioned, number 1 is going to be the Ranger, which is just a very standard, solid DPS mech suit. Now, the other 3 are a bit more interesting. You've got the Storm, which is your elemental mage type. You then have the Interceptor, which is your quick, nimble, melee-style rogue. And then you have the Colossus, which is the big, heavy tank. Now, there's already been a lot of conversation talking about whether or not they're going to add more Javelins down the road. I think the answer to that is probably going to be yes. And if they want to go with a Holy Trinity, it's pretty clear on which one they're missing, and that is going to be some sort of healer or support Javelin, one that can throw out buffs or debuffs and heals and that sort of thing. If they end up doing a 6th one, beyond that, it's going to be really interesting to see exactly what they come up for a combination. Next up, let's go ahead and talk about damage type and effect. Now, we've already seen from many of the videos that we have bullet damage and melee damage, but we also have 4 other types. We have got electricity, which will do electricity damage, but will also do an AoE effect damage, which would be really cool. We have acid damage, which will actually put a debuff, allowing the targets to take more damage. We have fire damage, which in addition to the fire damage, will also put a dot on the target, a damage over time. And we have frost, in addition to the damage that it produces, can also freeze the targets. Now, one of the other big features of this game is going to be the combo system, where, as an example, the Storm can freeze one guy with that frost damage, and then you can come in there with a hit and actually perform a combo. So it's going to be really interesting to see what other combos that you're going to be able to put together with these different effects. At its core, Anthem is an MMO, and with MMOs and RPGs, you have different loot rarities. So here in Anthem, we have a breakdown of exactly what those loot rarities are going to be. You start out with the white, which is going to be common, green, which is uncommon, blue rare, purple epic. Then you get into the good stuff where the orange is masterwork and yellow is legendary. So if you're someone who loves the grind, so to speak, of getting gear and making your character look cool, you'll be able to do that here in Anthem. Speaking of making your character look cool, it's time to talk about customization. Now, whenever you're playing a game like this, again, an RPG, an MMO, making your character look cool is always a big factor. It is for me. I mean, I'll play Space Barbie all day long, and Anthem is going to be taking that to the next level. So as I sort of mentioned at the start of this video, when you jump into the game for the first time, you're going to be creating a pilot. Male and female options are going to be both available, and you are able to customize your pilot. But that is not where the real customization of this game is. In this game, it's all about customizing your Javelins. And they've gone pretty crazy with this customization. In fact, BioWare has done a full live stream where they just showed off customization for like an hour. Each Javelin suit is going to contain both hard points and soft points. So just to throw out a couple of examples, if you imagine metal being a hard point, where cloth being a soft point. When you are customizing and designing your Javelin suits, they're going to have a bunch of options. As an example, during that live stream for metals or material types, just that alone, they showed off 50 different materials. So you can actually say, oh, I want this to be iron, I want this to be copper, I want this to be, cloth of whatever description. You can actually do that. And a lot of games, when they have a customization system or a dye system, they simply just give you a color palette, and that's about it. This game is going to feature the full color wheel. So if you're familiar with like Photoshop or something like that, where you can bring up the full, RGB or PMS colors, you'll be able to bring that up and do your own custom colors based on those wheels. Now, the game will have a bunch of pre-selected ones, so if you're somebody who doesn't really care and you're not that crazy about, oh, I want, this particular color down to the code, if you don't want to do that, again, there's just the pre-selected colors. But you're going to be able to go absolutely insane with the Javelin customization in this game. I can see myself just spending so much time messing around in this. In addition, they're going to have themed ones. They've already shown off the N7 logos and how you can make your Javelin look like something out of Mass Effect. And they have said that they do plan on introducing other BioWare or maybe even other EA titles into the customization as well. Now, since we're talking about customization, I think it might be an appropriate time to talk about the next item, which is no loot boxes plus a cosmetic store. I think at this point, EA and perhaps the gaming industry overall, they have learned that you cannot do these loot boxes and that you've got to be very, very careful with the microtransactions that you put into these games. Now, you take a look at something like Fortnite, which is a free-to-play game, but they have a crazy, cosmetic store, and that is how they make all their money. So BioWare has said that this game will have no loot boxes, it won't have any of that nonsense, but they will be doing a cosmetic store, and I think that is going to be the main way that they are going to earn money post-launch so they can continue to put, time, money, and effort into this game to continue to make it better and expand upon it. So it will be interesting to see how much free customization we get versus how much customization post-launch only goes into that store. So like I said, that'll be something to definitely keep an eye on. Now, speaking about those post-launch plans, BioWare has announced that all DLC for this game will be free. And I think that's perhaps one reason why they're going to push that cosmetic store so hard. Again, BioWare and EA, they're smart. They see what these other companies and other games are doing. Again, they're looking at Fortnite and say, all right, if we offer everything post-launch for free, again, more gameplay, more story, more javelins, we know that we can potentially keep this game going on that cosmetic store alone. So it's going to be really interesting to see exactly what they do for that free DLC. We'll be getting expansions, more raids, more multiplayer content. And again, you kind of look at what Destiny is currently doing, where they tend to do a lot of paid for expansions to expand their game and their end game. Next up, let's talk about viewing perspective. Now, this is a little weird. I personally can't think of any game off the top of my head that is going to do what Anthem's going to do. So, if you are unaware, the game is sort of split into two areas. You've got Fort Tarsis, which is the story area. You then have the world. And as we've seen from the gameplay, when you're out in the world, whether it's in the story mode or the free roam, you are in third person. You see that javelin flying around, you are in third person. But whenever you go to Fort Tarsis, when you are in that story mode, when you're in that story area, it is all first person. And there is going to be no way of changing either of those options. So if you want to do all the story stuff in third person to see your character, they're not going to allow that. If you would want to somehow do your Javelin in first person, sounds like that is also not going to be an option. So that is very, very interesting on why they have chosen to do that particular style. I know when the gameplay trailer for Cyberpunk came out, that was all done in first person, and CD Projekt Red got sort of the same backlash. They're like, oh man, why are you doing this RPG in first person? I want to be able to see my character and all this and that. And basically their answer was, we feel like it gives you more depth into the game and what we're trying to do. So it'd be cool if later on they did in fact add those options. But for now, let's jump in and see how it is, right? It's the best thing we can do is just see how it is. Who likes PvP? Anybody? Well, unfortunately, you're not going to be getting it here in Anthem, at least not at launch. When you take a look at games like Destiny and Division, and maybe even Warframe, you know, the games that Anthem is being compared to, they all have PvP. So it's a little bit curious as to why BioWare decided to leave PvP out again at launch. Now, of course, their side of the story is we want people to focus on the story and the world and playing with their friends and that sort of stuff. But when you have really neat mech combat like this, seems like when you're throwing PvP out the window, you're really throwing out an opportunity to do something neat. Now, of course, you've got the lore and the story of this game. You might say, well, maybe PvP doesn't make any sense. If they were to add something, I could see them doing some sort of, arena, friendly battles, that kind of thing, 1v1, 2v2, 3v3. But if they do end up adding something down the road, it's going to be interesting. But yeah, baseline story here is if you're looking for PvP at launch, that is not going to happen. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, the last topic we're going to touch on here today is what I'm going to call Dynamic World. Here recently at the NVIDIA press event, they showed off the amazing graphics and amazing technology of what Anthem is going to do for us, what Anthem is going to be like. It's going to have weather. It's going to have day-night cycles, dynamic creatures, treasures, and events. The game looks just absolutely beautiful. And if you're somebody who's got one of these brand new RTX cards, game is going to look even better for you. I mean, I love worlds that are just beautiful and you can just kind of stand there and just look at the stuff around you. Here recently, Red Dead 2, Assassin's Creed Odyssey are two of the most beautiful and wonderful worlds that we've ever seen in video games. And so hopefully Anthem is going to be the next one on that level. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is sort of 10 things that you need to know about Anthem before you pick it up here in February. So I hope everybody enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave a like. Please comment down below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this game. Do you like it? Do you not like it? What do you think? Is this game going to be any good? But once again, thank you all so much for watching. Everybody keep playing, have fun, and we'll see you next time.